What's going on YouTube? So even though the market is shifting towards SUVs and crossovers, there are still plenty of buyers that are looking for a sleek and athletic sedan. And that is where this extensively refreshed Lexus IS comes in, with sporty dynamics and a design that reminds you of the flagship Lexus LS. But with that all said, let's go ahead and see if this new IS is the sports sedan to buy. Now, if you were listening to me in the introduction, you notice I said refresh Lexus IS. And that's because this is actually a refresh of the existing IS, even though you wouldn't be able to tell it from the exterior design. Very substantially different, and that starts up here in the front. So you notice the signature spindle grille is still present, but it's a lot wider. And with this F-Sport, it's particularly aggressive. So with the F-Sport, you have the full blacked out finish, including this center mesh, and then the lower fascia is also revised to, again, look more aggressive. Now, moving up here to your headlights, these two have changed significantly for 2021. You still have the Arrowhead daytime running light, but it is now inside of the same unit instead of previously separated. And of course, everything is full LED except for this turn signal indicator. Now, of course, no sports sedan would be complete without some really nice looking wheels, and the IS does deliver. With the F-Sport, we have 19-inch gloss black finished alloys, which I think look very nice. You also have the option of getting very aggressive forged alloys from BBS, and that comes with a dynamic handling package. Now, moving beyond that, we do have special F-Sport branding. And up here at our mirrors, we have that signature multi-tone finish like most Lexus models have. They are heated, you have blind spot monitoring, and they are also auto dimming.
Alrighty, so before we talk about the all-new rear design, I do want to point out a few differences here at the side. The IS is still going to be 185 inches in length, but the new thing for 2021 is this piece right here, and that the rear door kind of swoops up for a more stylish look. Now, talking about the rear itself though, honestly, this from the rear looks almost like an all-new vehicle. It really is very significantly different from the pre-refresh IS. So up top, we're going to have a blacked out spoiler on this F-Sport model, and if you go for the dynamic handling package, it could also be carbon fiber. And then the biggest design element is, of course, these LED taillights. These are full-length LED taillights, the brake light and reverse slider LED. However, the turn signal is still incandescent. And then dropping down, of course, the F-Sport's going to get its own unique diffuser, and you're also going to have dual chrome exhaust outlets. Now, Lexus has also updated their safety systems for 2021 since Lexus Safety System Plus 2.5 is now on board on all IS models. That's going to include forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection and low light detection, as well as lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist, and auto high beam headlamps. Well guys, if you're watching and haven't hit that subscribe button down below, please take a second to go ahead and do that. It really helps us out. But that's going to wrap up the exterior design. Now let's go ahead and hop on the inside before we take it out in a spin.
Of course, as you would expect, the IS 350 does come standard with Lexus Smart Entry System, as well as the brand's typical key fob. And to get inside the vehicle itself, just grab behind the handle since there is a sensor. Alright, so taking a look inside of the refreshed cabin, you will notice there are a lot more similarities on the inside than on the exterior. However, there's a lot of premium upgrades as well. So with the F-Sport, the cabin is fully loaded. So what we've got on board is going to be a new luxe leatherette seating material, and you've got the choice between three nice colors: black, this white that you see here, which I really like, and there's also a really expressive circuit red option. Now turning over here to the door trim, you'll see the same materials reflect up here. So we have a white leather for the armrest, we have more leather that runs above it, and the top part is going to be soft touch. Of course, all 4 of your windows will be one-touch automatic. Coming down to the seats, these are 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. And like I was already mentioning, these are very nice seats. I love how thick the bolsters are and the color contrast areas in here, as well as the perforation, and this feels extremely realistic. Now, like I already mentioned, the design as well as the materials have been upgraded for 2021. So looking above our gauge cluster here, we do have a leatherette padding with the stitching detail. We have soft touch plastic along all the upper part of the dashboard, as well as down here with more stitching. As we move down to our lower areas, you'll notice another leatherette pad for your knee to rest against. We have some piano black where the climate control and stuff is, and everything does fit together extremely well in the typical Lexus fashion. Now start up the IS350, put your foot on the brake, and press the standard button. And after she fires up, let's take a look at one of my favorite gauge clusters in the industry, and that is this 7-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster. It comes on just the F-Sport model, and it physically moves. So as you can see, you press that button on the steering wheel, and the entire unit's going to slide over to the side, and that's going to give you a traditional multi-function display where you have the expanded information, or you just move that back into the center and have the reduced information. Now coming back to the steering wheel, of course the F-Sport does have a specific F-Sport branded steering wheel. You do have a perforated leather on the side with the color contrast stitching, and the wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping, and it's also heated as standard equipment on the F-Sport. Okay, so now let's go ahead and check the storage. Now in a compact luxury sedan, I don't expect to have a ton, but this is pretty decent. So we have a pretty deep amount of space here. It does have a nice felt lining on it as well. And you have 2 USBs, 12-volt outlet, and an aux jack. But let's put it to the test now. We gotta put our coupons in here. Hopefully it's gonna be a tight fit. Will it shut? It does, so it's gonna be tight, but you can definitely fit the whole stack in there if you want. Now other than that, you just have your 2 cup holders, but there's no storage up here in the front. Now coming back here to the shifter, this is just a traditional style shifter. Of course, it is leather wrapped. And when you pull back for drive, you can bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting, or you can use the standard paddle shifters. Now when we head into reverse, you'll find one of the few options you can add to the F-Sport, and that is this 360-degree camera system. So as you can see, of course, you have both your traditional view and your 360 view, and you can change the angles down there at the bottom. Now off to the side there, you got your electronic parking brake as well as your brake hold function. And then this is where you change your drive modes. When you change the drive modes, it does change the design in the gauge cluster. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump up here to our audio system. So first thing I'll point out, we do have physical controls, which a lot of you appreciate, and a CD player, so that's definitely nice. And then on this specific example, we have the optional 17-speaker, 1800-watt Mark Levinson sound system. So let's go ahead and give that a sample. So overall, this is definitely a very nice sounding sound system. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our climate controls. So these haven't changed too much from last model year, since you still have the electrostatic climate switches. So basically this is touch sensitive and you just drag up and down on it. It's very responsive. I find it to be quite easy to use. The rest of the buttons are going to be physical, and they're all laid out here so you don't have to dig through any menus or anything like that. And then I also want to mention down here is where you'll find your seat controls. So we do have a standard 3-stage heated seat on every single version of the IS, but if you want seat ventilation, that's going to be standard on this 350 F Sport. Okay, so now let's go ahead and jump up here to our display. So what you're looking at is the standard 8-inch display. There is also an optional 10.1-inch display, and that's the display that's going to come with navigation. However, regardless of which one you choose, you now have touchscreen ability, so that's certainly a nice thing that I think a lot of people are looking for. So you can touch it, or you can continue to use the Lexus remote touch controller if that's your preferred method. Now, as far as the rest of the system, it is running the latest version of the Lexus Inform software, and all models will come standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now moving up from that, we have a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes built in. And then up at the very top, a moonroof is going to be optional on every single version of the IS, and as you can see, this specific example does not have it.
Alrighty, so sitting in the IS's rear seat. Now, of course, this is not a focus of this vehicle. It's a compact sports sedan, so, the rear seat is more of an afterthought. But as far as the space itself, you're going to have 32 inches of rear legroom, 37 inches of rear headroom, which just places quite a bit smaller than that of its competition like the Acura TLX. And behind rear seating position, you're going to feel that since you probably have, I would say, about 3 inches of rear legroom, but my feet can slide up underneath the seat, so that's still very good. Now, as far as the features, we're not going to have a lot of them. We do have vents, and that's going to be standard on all of the models, but you're not going to have outlets or heated rear seats offered. And then if we fold down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders that will pop out of the end. There you go. Now, walking up to the trunk of the IS, there is a button under the lid to open, so just push it. And once inside, this is going to be another area that's going to be pretty small for this segment. It only comes in at 10.8 cubic feet in this cargo department, and that is quite a bit behind something like an Acura TLX if that's what you're cross-shopping this with. And I can feel that because back here it's pretty much filled up with just our camera equipment. But as far as they finished it, of course you do have a nice carpeting along the floor. And if I can lift up the floor, we'll see if there's a spare tire. And there is a spare tire up underneath of the floor. And it is worth noting that the seats do fold 60-40 split on this IS. Now on your passenger seat, as you would expect out of a luxury vehicle, it is going to be power adjusting. And as far as the glove box is concerned, this is going to be a pretty decently sized area. As far as the coupons, they can fit in there no problem. You just slide them right in the back. It is a little shallow, but definitely can fit the coupons in. And up top, we do have a sun visor with a mirror and light, and you can also detach. However, there is no extension. Nice.
Okay, so there we are, first taking off with this 2021 Lexus IS 350 F Sport. So what we got on board is the same powertrains that were available last year. So with the F Sport, you have the most powerful engine option. That's the 3.5-liter V6 engine, making 311 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque.
And power certainly feels pretty good taking off. This is a very small vehicle, and 311 horsepower is certainly a healthy figure. Now, of course, there are just like last year, there are several different powertrains for this IS. It's actually pretty complicated, not gonna lie. So the IS 300 rear drive is gonna have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 241 horsepower. And then the 300 all-wheel drive actually gets a detuned version of this 3.5-liter V6 that has 260 pound-feet of torque, or horsepower, excuse me.
Yeah, power definitely feels very good with this, and I really like the sound of the engine. This V6, it always has like a nice throaty sound, and then with the F Sport, I believe they're amplifying it with the speakers as well, so it definitely gives it a really sporty kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the transmission. With the all-wheel drive models, regardless of which engine you have, you'll have a 6-speed automatic. So with this 350 all-wheel drive, we have the 6-speed automatic transmission. You know, that's going to be down a couple gears. However, this is still a very good transmission, nice and responsive, and it shifts super smooth as you'd expect for a Lexus.
But just kind of cruising along here, I do want to discuss this vehicle's ride quality because, of course, the IS is mainly focused on sport and being a sporty offering. You do also need that comfort as well. And I have to say I'm very impressed. We're about to go over a bridge here and we'll see how it takes this bump. Yeah, it does a good job. I would say it's on par with our Tesla, probably a little bit better maybe in the ride quality, but certainly pretty good, even in this F-Sport. And also, it is worth noting that the dynamic handling package will add adaptive dampers, so that's pretty cool that that is offered. And once we get up to speed here, we'll get a sound level reading. We're going to be going 55 miles per hour. And we're sitting at 60.6 decibels. I think that this vehicle is very quiet. That reading is a little bit loud, but what I think it's picking up on is there's quite a bit of engine noise, which I think is really a good thing for a vehicle in this segment.
Now, Mason already kind of mentioned the suspension a little bit, but I do want to talk about the fact that Lexus has made some improvements. They made increased rigidity as really the main thing with this updated chassis, and this has always been a really, really nice handling vehicle. Like Mason was saying, this is a small, very agile and tossable vehicle, and it definitely has a very unique character in the Lexus lineup, completely distinct from, say, the Lexus ES.
Now, as far as the fuel economy is concerned, this one, as equipped, is the IS350 all-wheel drive. That's going to be rated at 22 combined. As you would expect, that's the worst in the lineup, but it's not going to be any worse than the 300 all-wheel drive. So fuel economy isn't something to consider when looking to upgrade from the 300 to 350.
It's not going very well.
We will just roll with it. Now let's go ahead and talk about the airball and slam dunk for the IS. So our slam dunk is going to be just how different the outside looks. I think Lexus really did a fantastic job with making this vehicle look so much better than it did before, and it honestly looks like an all-new product, even though this is technically a refresh.
Right, and we'll keep things really simple. For our airball, it's going to be that the inside could look more different. They definitely spent all their resources on the exterior, like Mason said, and on the inside they could have done a few more updates.
Let's go ahead and discuss the pricing. So for the IS300 rear drive, that's going to start at $39,000. All-wheel drive's $2,000 additional, and then the IS350 is going to start at $42,900. Now this one is a middle kind of optioned one, IS350, and we have the destination charge of $1,025, brings this one to $49,510.
So overall, definitely very pleased with what Lexus has done with this IS. This has always been a sports sedan that I've really had a soft spot for, and I really like particularly what they've done with the exterior. Like Mason was saying earlier, really stands out and looks completely new and fresh inside the Lexus lineup. I think this really is an appealing and unique sports sedan, and of course you're pairing that with that awesome Lexus reliability.
Well guys, that'll be all for this in-depth review of the 2021 Lexus IS 350 F Sport. We really appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far in the video, don't lie to me and don't be a bum. Hit that subscribe button down below and join this Car Confections family where you're going to get notified on all of our most recent content. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.